Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the New Construction Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Anya Krasianthan, and I'm very excited to introduce my guest for today, Lisa Reis. Lisa is a Director of Marketing and Client Experience with NEEZO Studios. And today we're going to talk all about selling remotely and how you can utilize technology available to help you do that. So Lisa, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Anya. I've been a listener and now I'm a guest, which is so much fun.
Yay. love to hear that when people say, oh, we listen to the show. So sometimes, you're talking into this microphone and you're like, is anybody even listening on the other side? So It's always cool. Sure. So Lisa, if you don't mind starting us off by giving us a quick overview of who you are, how you got to where you are, and then if you don't mind telling us about your company.
Sure. So my name is Lisa Reis, and I've been in real estate marketing for, my goodness, I don't want to date myself, but well over 2 decades. And I originally started on the ad agency side, taking care of a client's project, launching it, coming up with the strategy, naming it. At one point, I remember builders weren't able to afford their designer, and I thought, you know what, I'll get into decorating, and I ended up taking a 2-year course because I'm one of these people that feels like I need to justify everything. So I took a course to say, yes, I'm accredited, not a designer, but I am a decorator. So I got into decorating as well. And one of my suppliers, while I was at the agency side, was NEEZO Studios. So because they've always been someone I've admired, I remember them, the first time I got wind of them was when I was watching HGTV. And I'm sure you've probably heard of the Property Brothers, those 2 Renault twins.
Everyone's favorite show.
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember I was obsessed with the show and watching the credits and thinking, who did this cool work where the furniture like rolls, slides, and drops into place? And I wish it was that fast, right? But, so the crew basically hired NEEZO Studios to do those 3D animations. That was, my gosh, I think at least 12 years ago. And the company has been working with them ever since, in addition to a whole bunch of other shows for HGTV. They've also worked with a lot of ad agencies in Toronto and throughout North America that need marketing visuals or architectural visualization. So I thought instead of working on the agency side, it would be cool to work for someone who's doing the cool stuff that we get to use in our marketing. And I approached them, and here I am. And it's been a great experience. I've been with them about almost 6 months. Yeah, and it's been a wonderful experience. They're a great group of people, very talented.
Nice. Yeah, it's always awesome to see how, it's like the before and then the after. And, I think watching the show, it's very easy to see how most people have such a hard time visualizing what the final product's going to look like, and how you can really convince somebody to move forward with the property over another property by just showing them what the final product's going to look like, because you can tell all you want, but unless you show it to them, they really can't see what that looks like. Yeah. And I think it speaks for the power of visualization. I mean, humans are such visual creatures. I think well over 90% of all information that we receive is processed visually for us. So that's why video is so huge, and obviously virtual tours and everything that helps us see the picture, because again, you can talk all you want, but unless show me the money, as they say, right?
Absolutely. And I'm also a part-time realtor. And as a realtor, there's many times when you go into a home and the client says, oh, I don't get it, I don't see it. So if we show them through virtual staging, an empty room, and say, here's how it could look, all of a sudden it's a aha moment, and they say, okay, this could work for me. So yeah, totally.
Absolutely. So, Lisa, obviously you're out of Toronto, Canada. So, I think, I guess we can't escape but talk about the obvious hot topic of the day is the COVID-19. Oh, it was so funny. The other day, my husband is like not on any social media except for Twitter. And so he's like, look, this tweet came through. Somebody's son said, Poppy, did you have to stay home from school for COVID 1 through 18? It's like a COVID-19 joke. I was like, oh God. So obviously we're all on a lockdown, same as you guys in Canada. So is Canada doing kind of a nationwide lockdown, or they go by regions?
I think they're going by regions because there's some people that obviously they need to work, and it's, it depends on, I know in Ontario, we're really being very, very strict right now. And I know I've heard in the States that Trump is deciding who he wants to have, roam free and who not, which is kind of, it's scary. I think everything needs to be on lockdown.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know, so I'm originally from Russia, and yesterday, obviously also being April 1st, I follow Instagram for my hometown back at home. And they had an announcement that Putin, he basically is going like hardcore. So they locked down the whole entire country for a week right now, and I'm sure it's probably going to extend. And they passed some laws that if you don't follow the rules, like first it's a fine, but then if they find you, if you're actually infected and you infect somebody else, then you could go to jail for like up to 3 years.
Oh my God. An April Fool's joke?
Huh?
Is that an April Fool's joke?
Well, that's what I thought at first. I was like, is this April Fool's, And so I texted my friends and they're like, no, they're like cracking down on people. But I mean, for some people, I guess if they don't take it seriously and if they are infected, and they take somebody else's life. So if you actually infect multiple people and some people die and they find you responsible, up to 7 years in jail.
Crazy. I know we're charging fines here, but we're not doing jail time, at least not yet.
But I mean, well, that's the thing. Like, I think through this whole crisis, it's kind of been like you see some people that are just like, especially in the state of Pennsylvania right now, like we're on the lockdown. Like you can't leave. Well, I guess I shouldn't say all of Pennsylvania, but they go again by county. Right. But like in my county, you're not supposed to leave the house unless you're going to the hospital or to get groceries or something like that. So, and, I still see people, even in real estate, it's like, they want to go show houses and this and that. And it's like, you're not helping the cause, you're continuing this madness. And it's like the most of us who are following and have been staying, it's week 3 now, we're on week 3 of the lockdown. It's like, I want to get out too, I want it to be over. But if you're continuously going out there, it's a little insane. So obviously this whole thing has affected a lot of builders and realtors. And I think one thing that it has done though, is it showed just how important technology is. And I think now a lot of builders who were maybe resistant to adapting technology are now realizing like, oh, crap, like
get on this.
Yeah, I better get on board, right? Because I think if it's not coronavirus, it certainly seems to be that we're going in this direction of fewer customers are going to be willing to come out to the model home. And we've seen that happening over time anyway. Fewer people want to come out. And as a realtor, at least I'm sure you've seen that a lot of customers want to see if there's a virtual tour available before they even go to tour a home. And if it's not available, oftentimes they'll just eliminate it because they just don't want to waste their time. Is that the case?
Yeah, and they also have their own schedule. Sometimes they work night shifts. They can't be there during the sales office hours. They want to do it on their own time. So there's been reports where you say that you see on the website, people are logging into your site and looking at it at 1 a.m. So it's like your sales office is not open at that time, but virtually it's open anytime. It's 24/7, 365.
Yes, absolutely. So I know that you guys have teamed up with one of the biggest builders in America, D.R. Horton. Yep. So can you tell us a little bit about what kind of services you provide to DR Horton, how were they able to adjust to this? How are they utilizing your company to help sell homes during this time?
Mm-hmm. So DR Horton is one of my colleagues' accounts, but I can certainly talk to it because I'm not intimately connected to them as a client. But basically what we've done is we created a new software application, and it's called LiveSite, and it really stands to its name. It is live. It's a site. It's an app that has real-time data. So through this app, you have it obviously on your beautiful touch screen when you walk into the sales center. That's an obvious. But the beauty in LiveSite is what happens when you leave the sales center. It can be on your mobile, whether it's iOS or Android. It can be on your tablet. It can be on your website. So no matter what platform, it's omnipresent, regardless of what platform your user wants to see it on, it's available to them. So that's been a huge blessing to them. I know I've been reading some of their posts on LinkedIn. Like, to them, it's just business as usual. They're just, they keep on going because they have this new program that we put together called LiveSite. And LiveSite is beneficial on both sides. The user experience is lovely. Like, you're able to, as a consumer, literally have a 360 degrees, not just pan this way and that way. You can literally go 360 degrees around the community. You can see the floor plans, for example, in 2D and 3D. If you want to see them side by side, you can pick which floor plan, compare them. There's so many different benefits. I'm just trying to think of some off the top of my head. You can pick a lot. So many times people say, I want my house, but I want to see who my neighbors are. Well, you can take your home, plop it on the lot, and see exactly if you're buying a bungalow and there's a 2-story next to you, that's not going to make you happy. So you might want to move that home to another lot. So you have the capability of doing that. And then there's other things like a condo, for example. It usually takes at least a year to sell, if not longer. So imagine if it's, winter and it's ugly and it's just not nice weather out, and you walk in and the imagery is all summer. It just doesn't jive with the person's real life. Well, with a click of a button, we can change the creative so that it matches whatever season you're in. So if it's winter, all of a sudden the visual rendering is all winter and it's a pretty scene, and people kind of vibe with it. They're like, yeah, this is, I can see myself. And then the other thing is, some people are gardeners and they want to see the sun in the shadow. So if they want to say, well, how does my lot look in the backyard at 7 o'clock? Well, you can just flip that around and see that. So it has a lot of really cool bells and whistles that most times you would only be able to see in the sales center. But because of the technology we've created, you can see it on all platforms.
That's incredible. So, and think about, obviously right now, this is probably lifesaver for builders who have this technology. So basically your customer can go on your website, see the bird's eye view of the community. They can it's almost like playing a video game. And I will link to some of the videos in the show notes so you guys can really check it out and see what that looks like. But it almost feels like you're playing a video game. You go in, you see the bird's eye view, you can zoom in, go to different areas, different locations, kind of like see different angles, and it's all I guess it's 3D, right? So you're viewing it as a real life. It's as real as it gets.
It's really fun to use the term gaming, because a lot of our team, we have a massive rendering farm, and a lot of them come from a gaming background. So we have used gaming technology to create LiveSite. You can literally slide these little bars and pick your bedroom and say how many square feet you want, and it'll narrow down to only the unit will light up only to what's available. So yeah, it's very engaging, very interactive. And that's on the homeowner or the user experiences side. For the sales team, they love it because they get to, if let's say that the executive is on vacation, he doesn't want to be calling it, how are sales? What are we doing now? That usually does happen because I've been on that side of the fence. But you don't have to worry, because they literally have an app and they just go, and they can see in a moment how many sales they have. If they want to reserve the penthouse for their daughter, they flip a button and then they hide that. If they want to reveal a phase, they can do that. Want to change prices, they can do that, all from an app. So
that's incredible.
It's really the perfect thing for both the user and the sales team.
Yeah, so it makes the selling process so seamless and easy. And I think that's the key. If you guys have heard me talk about the presentation that Tim Costello of BDX did, all about the friction points that the clients encounter during the purchase process of a new home and how difficult it is to buy a new home. So this certainly eliminates a lot of those friction points. From the customer perspective, if you think about, customers are online right now, right? Because they have nothing better to do. They're all cooped up in the home, sitting around, and, there's only so many Netflix shows, King Tiger and, and, all those others that you can watch and binge. And of course, we're seeing that there's been a huge spike in internet traffic. So I want to say builders are seeing up to I want to say a week ago or 2 weeks ago, it was up 88%. I'm sure it's probably even higher now. So, and if you think about this customer who's bored and going online to do the research because they're thinking like, hey, I'm cooped up inside my home, this thing could go on for a little bit longer. This unfortunately may be the new reality as far as the virus going around, making, so many rounds. And, some people say it's going to be a year or two as far as like the cycling of it. So, are we going to have multiple quarantine situations? And, what happens when people spend a lot of time in their home? They either realize how much they love it or they realize how much they hate it. Right? So now all those people who are realizing how much they hate their home are probably thinking, hey, maybe it's time to look for a new option. And so when they're hopping online and going to check out their local builders in the area, and, some local builders will have no website or a really bad website that doesn't have any virtual option to tour anything. And then there's going to be a builder like D.R. Horton who is going to have an option to not only tour the community, but tour a model home virtually. And not only that, but I believe your software also offers an option to change different selections, right? Can you see what the kitchen looks like, for example?
Yeah, there's an add-on, there's an option if they want to have almost like an online design center, if they want to show their different vignettes, like kitchen A is standard, kitchen B is an upgrade, and then people can pick and choose. So everything you would normally do in a sales center can be done online. And quite often builders have like a whole buyer journey of things that they send out regarding the community, and then they introduce them to the features and finishes in the home, whatever the journey is that they want to create. Now that last piece of communication would have normally been, come on into the sales center. Now it's check out live site, have fun, and call me when you're ready to make the purchase.
Exactly. And think about, like, as a salesperson, how much easier the sales process is when you don't have to convince them that this is the right lot for them, because they can see for themselves that, hey, it's very important for me to have Eastern exposure, exactly. Right? My house has to face whatever, the east. So boom, you can click the button and almost.
Absolutely. We've done a lot of research in that regard. We have a lab that I like to call the bee's knees. The bee's knees lab basically does that kind of research where we study usage pattern when people, the hot maps and where they're looking, and then doing interviews and finding out what is it that you need and what is it that you want. It's very, very user-centric. It's not just about the convenience of having, here's the picture of the room and that's it. It's thinking about those things that you just pointed out. Is my home going to be next to a 2-story and I'm a little bungalow? I don't want that. Well, now like you'll physically see it with your own, visually and physically see it with your own eyes. So yeah, and then even the sunshine. I know when I bought my home, I was adamant, I will not buy it unless I have self-exposure in my backyard. So now with something like this, I can see that right away.
Yeah, I have a client that I've been working with her for probably close to a year now, and sun light is really important for her. And, so I remember we saw a condo that she really liked, but it was like a really, really gloomy day in the middle of winter. And it's like, okay, well, let's try to go back when it's sunny, so it's, and it becomes this whole thing, and for some people, that is really important, especially if they're affected by seasonal changes and their mood is affected by different seasons. If they're prone to that, then it becomes really, really important to make sure they're not depressed living in this home. So, and how many times have you heard your customers say like, hey, how's the lightness, and they happen to come in on a gloomy day, and you can pull out your compass and try to show that all you want, but how much easier would it be just to pull out your computer screen and be like, hey, let's watch this, and you can literally show them kind of like the fast forward of the sun go up, go down, right? So they can see the whole sun exposure. I mean, how awesome is that? How easy does that make the sales process?
Yeah.
And so obviously, Lisa, I mean, the whole point of this is to get the customer involved. And one of the things we're seeing is that the more the customer is involved in the process, before they even buy the home, they become bought into the process. And the more they are bought into the process, the more likely they are to actually buy.
Absolutely.
Which is great. Right. And that's the whole point, is that you do want to involve them in the process. You want to make them feel like they have the ownership of the situation, and they're ready to take that next step with you, because they're now invested, right? They invested the time going through the app. They invested their mental energy. Now they bought into the process. They bought into that countertop that they've been arguing over with their spouse, So all those things help you sell the home, just because your customers becomes emotionally bought into this process.
Absolutely. And even in today's day and age, I mean, you can buy a car online and have it delivered right to your home. You order your food and it comes to your home. Why? I'm not saying the home's going to come to your home. You're going to go to the new home. But my point is the whole process, like, it should be as seamless and as convenient as everything else that they're experiencing in life. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I think people come to expect that now. And especially with something like this crazy virus hitting us all, it certainly accelerated this process for us. So if you weren't ready to jump on board, like, now I think is the time to see like, oh wow, I'm really going to be left behind if I don't adopt to this new way of selling, to this new technology.
Yeah.
Now, Lisa, have you guys have any data on customer behavior as far as like how many people actually willing to buy a house, quote unquote, sight unseen, or how do you see that it expedites the process? Do you have any data behind that? Like, how, obviously we know that visualization is huge. We know that getting customer involved is huge in making those decisions, and that it helps. Do you have any solid data behind some of those things that you guys are seeing, as far as that the average cycle of customer going from the introduction to the website to the contract is shrinking? Do we have any of that data available?
Right now, we're in the process of working on the data, because the program just launched a few months ago. And I know that that's a key component, because it's all nice to say, oh, this is so cool, but you need to back it up with research when it goes to the top. C-level suite wants to see actual tangible confirmation of that information, and we are working on that right now. So I'm hoping sometime this year we're going to have that to report. So we've only been out like one quarter, but yes, it's in the works. And so far, from the feedback we've been getting, I've been approached by the media. We've gotten 2 pieces of media coverage just last week about the fact, what do you do during the pandemic? Virtual tours are, they're agnostic, they're immune. So it's definitely being picked up and received, and people get it. Like, they understand the benefit and the efficacy of it. So now going forward, I think I can reach out to you in a couple of months and share that information with you for sure.
Awesome. So maybe we'll do part 2.
Yeah.
And then Lisa, talk to us a little bit about the customer experience, as far as, maybe I'm working with somebody who is not typically used to navigating this. Like, they're not used to doing this online. Mm-hmm. How easy is it for somebody, maybe say they're older generation, they're not familiar with technology? Like, how techy do I need to be as a customer, or even as a sales rep, in order to be able to use this?
Put it this way, if they can shop on Amazon, they're going to have a good time. It's as easy as that. And we've done research with boomers. We've had like some of our staff's parents doing the testing and watching them hot mapping what they're looking at. And it's very intuitive. If we don't say anything and just watch them do what they need to do to get it, they'll start, oh, look, honey, oh, look at this, oh, look at that. And they just kind of really, you can see the surprise and delight as they're experiencing live site. And it makes us feel really good because we did it based on what we would want if we were a user. But now that we've actually introduced it and seen how people are receiving it, it just confirms that our team hit the nail on the head.
That's awesome. And I think more and more, especially millennials, I know when the latest NAR study came out, I forgot what percentage, but there was a percentage of millennials who basically bought a house sight unseen.
Yeah.
So, and you know, the way they do it is obviously using the virtual tours and everything. And then they just kind of, okay, we went under contract and now it's like come into the house just to verify that everything looks as what you expected. But I mean, even with new construction, I mean, even more so, right? Like that's going to be even easier to sell a house when we are able to show them the lot, the home, the light, everything, because I think that's been the biggest challenge with new construction is that visualization piece. And, you know, I've shared data with you guys in the past that, what percentage of people say they want to buy new construction. And it was like over 60% of all buyers, when they begin the process, they say, I want to buy new construction. I want to say like 69% say that. And then only like 9% actually end up buying new construction. So there's obviously a huge disconnect between how many are willing and how many are doing it. And, you know, I mean, obviously there's many factors involved, but I think some of the biggest factors is that inability to visualize and make this process easy. And it's got to be easy for them to move forward.
Absolutely. And then the other cool thing is as well, quite often a lot of these projects sell to foreigners, people who are out of the country and they want to use it as a vacation home or what have you, be with family. And this vehicle is perfect for that. They can be in another country and experience the exact same thing had they walked into the sales center. So doing it virtually, it's as good as being there, you know?
Yeah.
And if it's exactly the same thing as what you would see in the sales center anyway, imagine how much money they're going to save the builder not having to build model homes. They don't have to build a model home. They can just see everything virtually, and the actual benefit of seeing it for real, how it's going to look, it's, you know, it's immeasurable.
Yeah. So, and I think that's certainly the direction that we're going to go more to, and see that more and more builders are utilizing this virtual model, and that they're, you know, I don't know if they're going to completely stop building model homes, but maybe if they're building, you know, 2 or 3 model homes now, they just go to 1. That way you still have your sales center set up. People can still come see you on site, but you don't have to show all the different options because you can visualize those all the different options. And I think as far as technology really caught up to where it does feel so real when you look at it, because in the past, I think that was, you know, especially those gargoyles you wear, you know, it's like, so none of that. You can just literally look at the computer screen and see it. Now, Lisa, is there something, you brought up a good point as far as construction progress goes. Is there a way to show them like what's happening in the construction process utilizing this technology, or no?
It's not something we've done yet, but anything is possible. If we had a client that wanted that, I'm sure we can do it. So, I mean, even right now, our 3D renderings, we've been told that they look like photographs. They're so photorealistic. So whether they want to show what's behind the wall, because I know that's a really big thing now, you know, how is the home being built? It depends on the client. We've had clients that are very green and say, I want to show the drywall and what's behind it. And, you know, it just depends on the client. We're very custom. Everything we do is custom. Our renderings are not, let's pick a chair from the library. No, we custom model based on what the designer's specified. If the designer has a certain look and says, I want this chair, this kitchen counter, that's what they get in the rendering. And if a builder wanted to show, you know, the behind the scenes or the process, even to do a video series. That's another piece of business that we offer, is doing aerial drone photography and actual video storyboards. We've done one, I forget the name of the builder off the top of my head right now, but it was a builder in Alabama, and they were in a college town. So the whole video was based around the football that was happening in that community. And it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful, beautiful video. I can't remember the views, but I know that the views are crazy high on that video. So yeah, anything's possible in the 3D world.
Yes. And you guys remember that one of the things that when it comes to client satisfaction, the client said that it's the feedback, unsolicited feedback from their builder on the progress of construction. If they were able to provide that consistent, unsolicited feedback, then the client was much more satisfied at the end versus client who was not really kept in the loop.
Yeah.
And I always teach you like, okay, so how can you use photography? How can you use video to keep client in the loop? It's as easy as incorporating your walkthroughs with your project manager. Instead of sit down with a project manager on a weekly basis to talk about the progress for ABC customer, why not take that time to walk the actual home sites while you're talking through it? Take some videos, take some photos, send it off to the customer. So I think that could definitely be a great idea to show, especially somebody who cannot make frequent trips to see the progress of their home. Because again, when they see this progress, it ties them more emotionally to it. Because a lot of times, it's like we go from this crazy excitement of, yes, I bought a new house, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And we go through like all the selection process and everything. And then it's like crickets for a while, right? When we're getting permits and all this stuff, nothing's really happening. And then it's kind of like,
yeah.
And then we start construction and it's like, takes forever, so I think it's really important to keep client engaged in the process and excited. And the more you can do that with visuals, the better your customer experience is going to be. And the happier customer is going to be, the more referrals you're going to get in the end. So that's a win-win.
Love what you're saying. And I'm definitely going to take that back to my team. And we're going to include that in LiveSlide 2.0.
Oh, good.
We're always communicating through email anyway. It would be lovely to get an email and say, by the way, here's how we're doing on the site. If they can't do each individual home, they can kind of just do a broad, we're at construction, we're at framing, whatever it is. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Good. All right. And Lisa, as we're wrapping up, is there anything else that you wanted to share with our listeners as far as, any trends you're seeing, anything with this technology, or anything people should really be aware of or consider as we go forward?
For sure. When I started in the business, visually merchandising a sales center was all very, wall displays, and it was very static, if you will.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, things are moving more digital, and if they don't do it, their competitors will. And if they're not getting on top of virtual, everything, their competitors will. So I just want to, alert all of the builder community out there to, if they want a demo to see if it's right for them, by all means, reach out to me. It's definitely the way of the future. And I think something like, unfortunately, this pandemic has heightened the senses of what we have to offer. We haven't noticed, a dip in business. It's just I'm working more hours than I normally work during a day, just trying to keep up with the calls from the media, and just it's definitely something whose time has come. So yeah.
All right. So Lisa, how can we find out more about your company? And if somebody's interested in learning more, how do we reach out?
So our website is NEEZO Studios.com, and I can leave that information with you to share in the profile. And they're more than welcome to send me an email. We'll give them a demo. If we need to come meet them in person, we'd be happy to do that as well. That's it.
Awesome. And you guys, I'll be sure to link all that information in the show notes. Lisa, thank you so much for being a guest today. I really appreciate your time. It's been awesome chatting with you. And, fingers crossed that we come out of this pandemic sooner rather than later, because I was telling you off camera that the other day I got a package in the mail, and that was the highlight of my days, to unpack that package because it's starting to feel like Groundhog Day every single day. And I'm used to working from home, but now it's like the children are and the hubby are also here, and uh, it's been rough. So I'm ready for them to go back to work and to school. So I'm sure, as we all are, but we'll get through it.
We will, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I will talk to you very soon.
Thanks, Anya. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.